The first step to grading the SAT and PSAT is to first identify which answers are not correct. This means that either the student marked the answer incorrectly or left the question blank. Once this is done, add up the number of questions that were not answered correctly and subtract that number from the total number of questions in that section. For example, the reading section has 52 questions total. This student incorrectly answered 10 of those questions. Remember, this includes the questions wrong and unanswered. If we subtract 10 from 52, we are left with 42 correctly answered questions. This is our raw score for reading. Once we get the raw score, we will look at our raw score conversion table down the column labeled raw score until we find that number. In our previous example, we identified a raw score of 42 for the reading section. Now we will look in the row until we find the number in the reading column. This is the scaled reading score. In our example, we see a score of 34. Now that we have the reading scaled score, we will repeat the same process for section 2, the writing section. Once we have the scaled writing score, we can add that number to the scaled reading score and then multiply that number by 10. So in our example, our student had a scaled reading score of 34, and let's say they had a scaled writing score of 32. We would add these together to get 66 and then multiply 66 by 10. That means our student has a verbal total score of 660, which is pretty good. For the math, we will take the total number of questions minus the incorrect or blank questions to find the number of correct answers for each section. Then we will add the number of correct answers together for the raw score. In our made-up example, we will imagine that on section 3, which contains 20 questions, the student missed 5, leaving them with 15 correct. On section 4, let's say they missed 5 out of the 38 total questions, which leaves them with 33 correct. 15 plus 33 equals 48. So their raw math score is 48. Just as we did before, we will look at our conversion table in the raw score column and then follow that row to the math section score column. The raw score of 48 in this case results in a scaled score of 680. Now finally, we simply add the scaled verbal score to the scaled math score, and that equals the SAT total score. After grading the practice tests, you will simply need to fill out an Excel spreadsheet with the student's name, scaled scores for reading, writing, and math, as well as a total verbal score, total math score, and the total SAT score. Then email that spreadsheet to the applicable party.